Well, hello there, everyone. You hear talk about right here about for like nicknames and if it's going to be also about checks. So it's like this right here that I went ahead and did some Photoshop work right here. But how many of us will really believe that maybe if this will be a good example right here of a check, of a refund check? And we've seen quite a few of the similar designs, and a check that it has to be what you call produced in a certain way from the Department of Treasury. But you have right here, I'm talking about a check that what it would look like in the near future. And especially if you're going to be a student, and maybe that if you're going to be working for a particular company. But let's just say that the way I went ahead and put this together right here was mainly about to where maybe checking out a new design. Yeah, checking out a new design, because whenever I was working this, putting in the stars right there, to me it's like, this, I guess if you call it the Independence Hall building, I'm like, I'm sure most of us have seen on the back of a $100 bill that this similar building right here. But if we're going to be, using the stars, though, if this background right here was supposed to be like if you want to call it like a backdrop to a check, though. So let's just say that if this was right here was an example right here of a check, then a lot of times if there's any logos or background scenes of that check to where that the way it was designed, I guess if that is supposed to be what you call for security purposes, I'm like, you're going to see a check like that, maybe even on an advertisement, and I have right here for my birthday of 2022 right here. So I mainly want to put this together right here, mainly talking about the future also, and also that in case of anybody that may want to where that what does it usually mean whenever we bet on something. So let's just say if you start something and like a deposit, a deposit, to where that it seems like whenever you start working a job, that a lot of people that may not believe that you're going to be done within 4 weeks, like you say that you're going to be done. So let's just say 4 weeks, you'll be done with the project in 4 weeks, and somebody's like, yeah, right. Yeah, and then they might even, and I don't know how many of us are going to maybe think is to where that with your image right there, they're going to draw a mustache. They're going to go ahead and draw a mustache on your image right there. I'm like, yeah, you said that you would be done with the project in 4 weeks. So it's like, you draw a mustache right there, and in case of anybody that may want to where that, you say stuff, and then sometimes it's like, I don't even believe half the time that, oh, okay, you said that you're going to be done with the project. You'll be done with the project in 4 weeks, huh? Yeah, I'll go and draw a little mustache right there. That's what, is that, that is what you said, I'm like, if that's what you said. But, anyway, you'll be done in 4 weeks. And so let's just say that, if this was maybe contract, and how many of us are really going to give a name to a contract? So it's like, any promises that are made, and like, even if it was run for governor, that you're likely thinking is that, that you're going to be talking to anybody, and they're just going to maybe think of, okay, give the photo a mustache, or draw big eyebrows on his face, because there ain't no doubt that he's going to be done in 4 weeks. So let's just say that if it's a handshake, or if it's what you call this sudden tease, to where people are going to tease you about that they don't believe that you're going to be done with the project in 4 weeks. But let's just say if this is supposed to be like a bet right here, and how many of us really, if you want to pay off a bet, maybe even with a check. So I'm like, really, and I don't really know if I would recommend anybody would try to place a bet, even through the government. I'm like, through the United States Treasury, that they don't believe that you're going to be done with the assignment, with the project, with the whole process within that 10 days period. So let's just say that if you were told, and it's like, well, I don't believe you. Now, right, that's what you said the last time. So it seems like sometimes, in order to be able to negotiate, that sometimes you have to tell everybody that, well, fine, how about we make an agreement, sign a or make a deposit, or I bet you, So in case of anybody that may wonder to that the best ways of how we can keep our promises, and sometimes it seems like that, well, I'll bet you some money that guaranteed it's going to get done. So let's just say that, let's just say if we were to set a goal here to where within 2 years or so that this is what's going to be going on, and somebody that may tell me that, yeah, well, that's a lie or something like that, or it's not going to happen. So in case of anybody that may wonder to where that if it's the source of education or maybe about getting something done, and I mainly want to talk about it's like for getting something done, but talk about for nicknames though. How many of us really would give an account like to Department of Treasury if we're going to be filing our taxes online? How many of us would give it a nickname? And I guess nicknames are basically the names that we are known somebody by. I'm like, yeah, like what's called a special touch that for how well that our feelings between each other, But I guess nowadays that they're going to have it to where that you can go ahead and give whenever you sign into a mobile app, then you're going to go ahead and set a nickname for it. And then, but then let's just say that if it's going to be a mobile app for banking online, and it's also about managing your refund checks or something like that. This was right here was supposed to be an example right here of a check, and let's just say that you're a Treasury student, and they could probably say, in case of anybody that may want to worry, that you don't want to use that nickname, for an account, because we want to make sure it's safe and secure. In case of anybody that may want to worry that a signature that pretty much proves your presence, but that you were actually there, and then that you would actually heard and like to talk about So in case of anybody that may want to worry that sometimes checks are not processed correctly, if you don't sign the back, or if you don't process it, I'm like, if you don't handle it correctly, then chances are it's going to get rejected. But I mainly want to talk about right here also, this right here will be an example right here of a stamp right here, and then this right here will be the stars right here. How many of us look at this right here as to where this was right here was example right here of a check, and the stars, I'm like, would that represent, maybe for National Memorial Day, or that, the Star of Liberty? And, I don't know how many of us have really seen this before, to where if you're going to be looking at a star, then you're going to go ahead and think about right here is like that the star was supposed to be like what you call, for honor. I'm like, and I don't know, it's like, in case of anybody that may want to wear the stars, like I say, there, right there is the head, and that right there is the arms, but then it would come down like that, and it was supposed to represent, for like I don't know, maybe for like a statue. I'm like, in case of anybody that may look, well, we don't really want to see an image of Christ right up there on top of the building, but if anything, about something holding its arms out, represent for the states. And so if you're going to be sending any kind of statue though, then the statue would be for honor of the monument, and so it's like whenever we see a check right here, this right here, it's supposed to be set for the future. So in case of anybody that may want to worry, that most checks though, that they have to be made and then processed a certain way also. But let's just say though that if this right here was supposed to be a check written in the amount of for $8,000, but set for 3 years from now. So let's just say in case if I were to show somebody this check right here, and they're like, that there ain't no doubt that you're going to be able to have that kind of money, and not from the government, not from the state, and then not even from the Treasury Department. So let's just say that if this was supposed to be like an agreement, so in case of how many of us that know anybody that may even say that, that you've had conversations with a few people that and one of those, they're going to go ahead and draw like a little funny face right there, on your image, such as, that's you holding the American flag, and blue has been your favorite color since you were 8 years old, you say since you were 5. and you start talking about this gold monument stuff, and on your hand too, that there ain't no doubt that you're going to succeed very well, especially that, if you keep jibber-jabbering about all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, I tell you one thing. I'm like, yeah. In case of anybody that may wonder to where that, yeah, that sometimes it seems like that it takes, yeah, besides being patient on the process, sometimes it also takes is to where that, yeah, that for how other people get along especially. So let's just say, yeah, that right there would be an example right there of a stamp right there, but still, though, that how many of us really even believe that, whenever there's going to be checks coming back to us, that that they're gonna have it? I'm like, yeah, yeah, that how many of us really believe that people will be paying you to do certain things? And yeah, if you're right or wrong, that this is that there ain't no doubt that you're going to be getting a check from them, just because that you're not qualified, or just because, you're not a senior manager of the company or something like that. But I can tell you one thing, everybody, that, whenever I think about the checks right here, yeah, that, if it's really guaranteed to really just think about it all the time, to where that, yeah, that if this is supposed to be like, maybe like a birthday present, and, anniversary present, but when we shake hands with somebody, that that usually means is to where that you come up to an agreement, or that yeah, that and like I mentioned before, talk about for bets though. I guess what does bet basically mean? It basically means is to where that exactly that to where that for how well the promises are met. Is basically, I say, is like a bet. So in case, if you win or lose the ball game or something like that, or if you didn't earn as much points or something like that, I guess it's paying up for what the agreement was about. So I know most of us have probably played something like that, negotiated something like that. Yeah, maybe during a game of blackjack of cards or something like that. But still, though, that how many of us are really going to bet? Talking about Department of Treasury, or about getting a project done, and during the time that you're kind of waiting and maybe kind of just fooling around and teasing, that you're going to go ahead and somebody's going to maybe draw a mustache right here on my image and be like, yeah, well, that little nerd of him, yeah, he says he's going to be done with the project, within 4 weeks. No, he ain't. Yeah, and if you want to go ahead and draw like a little beer bottle going by his forehead or something like that. Yeah, go ahead and draw a little beer bottle. I might draw a little beer bottle and act like if we're dumping beer on top of his head or something like that. Like, yeah, beer can, I guess that's more of a beer can right there. But draw like a little beer can as like if we were pouring it on top of his head or something like that. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to get done in 4 weeks, but still, though, that in case of anybody that may warrant toward that, talking about for like it's like I look at it as like a deposit, but anyway, but this right here will be an example right here of a check, and in case of anybody that may warrant toward it, you're going to go ahead and use these paint tools like it's makeup, like a makeup artist, to where that there ain't no check that looks like that's written in the amount, for over $5 grand, that's coming from the Treasury Department, but let's just say that this was for the future though. And let's just say, for security purposes, and if it's supposed to be like for an award, because I know that giving each other nicknames, and I know you mentioned about I was listening to radio tonight. Talk about nicknames, so that nowadays that they even have it to where that you would be able to give an account a nickname. Would anybody? Do we give our gift cards and our credit cards a nickname? If you could, then what would you call it? And, Fancy You, I guess, would you call it, the Fancy You, the Precious Penny? I'm like, yeah, Precious Penny. How many of us would name our credit cards the Precious Penny? Yeah, Precious Penny account, like an precious what? Precious what? Like an Precious Penny. Do you want to spell that? I can go ahead and spell it in the clouds, actually. In cursive. Precious penny. So yeah, in case if anybody that may say that, say what? Say that again. Precious penny. It looks like Precious Miami. Are you sure? Are you sure it's not Miami? Like a precious penny. Your precious penny. You want to say that again? Precious. Are you sure it's not Precious Miami? Precious penny. But you know, anyway, but in case of anybody that may want to, we're going to give our accounts nicknames, and you know, if Precious Penny was ever used for any source of credit card, it is. But you know, still, that you have right here for the Treasury student right here. But you say but still, whenever we bet on something, and at the time, you're like, say that people are going to tease each other, but still, that it basically means like, yeah, getting the job done. You know, it's like that's what it's about.